With job losses rising and home prices declining, foreclosures are on the rise in most metropolitan areas, and there actually is no end in sight to that. Bloomberg's Vera Gibbons is here with more on that story.
Well,
right,
it's discouraging because things were looking better at one point. We had some positive data, even as the housing market was showing signs of stabilizing with sales climbing and prices leveling off. There's this huge cloud hanging over the market that's threatening to undo the gains. We're talking specifically about foreclosures. A whopping 1.5 million properties received notice in the first half of the year, and that's a 15% increase from a year earlier. And these days, it's no longer about bad mortgage products.
We still see very high levels of activity in the states that were hardest hit in the first place, mostly Sunbelt states, but we're starting to see areas, particularly in the Midwest, that have not been foreclosure hotspots popping up into the top of the rankings.
Now, the Las Vegas area had the highest rate of filings in the first half of the year, with 7.5% of households receiving notice. That's up 56% from a year ago and is 6 times the national average. Number 2, the Cape Coral-Fort Myers region at 7.2%, followed by Phoenix at 4.4%.
We still see very high levels of activity in the states that were hardest hit in the first place, mostly Sunbelt states, but we're starting to see areas, particularly in the Midwest, that have not been foreclosure hotspots popping up into the top of the rankings.
So while there are some key differences, Gigi, in the data in terms of the markets being affected, less affected, more affected, the message is basically brace yourself for the next wave of filings, which is expected to occur in unexpected cities, particularly as the unemployment rate continues to rise, and you've got all these arms resetting to higher rates as well. So you've got this whole domino effect at play.
And there are new dangers out there with Americans not being able to pay their property taxes.
I know. Well, property taxes have been rising. This is a whole other problem. You've talked about the millions of people losing their homes to foreclosures. No one's talking about the tens of thousands that can't pay their property tax bills. They could actually lose their homes through authorized tax seizures. I would imagine, Gigi, we're going to hear more about these others as the unemployment rate continues to rise.
So what's the potential fallout from that?
Oh, it would be a huge fallout because the government needs this money. They really rely on the property taxes. So if tens of thousands cannot pay their property taxes, and as that number continues to rise, you're talking about multi-million-dollar shortfalls. And the government needs this money for the libraries, for the police department, for everything in their community.
Some really troublesome news.